Hello all, welcome to Rotterdam.com. In this session, we'll discuss about data model components in Oracle Fusion BI, and also we'll discuss about how do we create a report with the detailed steps. So let's get into agenda. We'll try to understand what is the BI publisher concept, the data model components in detail, and the steps involved to create a report. So in a very high level, when we design a BI publisher report, what are the components involved? The first and foremost important thing is data model. Nothing but from which data source you want to design a report. Let us say if you want to design a payables report, it means that you want a payable data, and that is the data which you want to have it. And you need to, next thing is the layout. Nothing but what is the format you want to have it. Whether you want to go with RTF template or Excel template or a PDF template. And then if you want any translation, you have to go with the translation. And then these three inputs are sent to the OBI engine, the major crux of the architecture, like Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, the engine, which takes all these three inputs and generates the output in a desired format. It can be PDF, XML, CSV, HTML, PDF, Excel, etc., based on the requirement what we consider. So in our session today, we'll try to concentrate more on the data model part. As a developer, what is this all about? What components we have it? What are the properties of it? And how do we start for the beginners? How do we start designing a data model when they get a requirement? Okay. So data model, nothing but a data logic. What is the source from which you want to design the data? You want to extract the data. Layout is all about what are the columns you want to have it and what kind of template you want to go with. That is taken care in the layout template. Translation about translation of the column headers, that XLF logic. And the OBI is a main engine of the Oracle BI publisher, which takes these three inputs and generates the output in a desired format. This is a BI publisher concept. Now, now we'll try to concentrate more on the data model part. So data model is nothing but what exactly it is. It is an object that contains a set of instruction for a BI publisher to retrieve the data for a report. And when we deploy, right, like when you're trying to deploy the report to the next instance, or when you create the report component, when you're trying to design the report component, the data model is an individual object, and the report it's an individual object. So data models are stored as separate object, as well as report is also stored as separate object. And when you design a data model, it's like a you may have multiple data sets. In the next slide, we'll understand what this data set is all about. Nothing but, let us say, when you're trying to extract the payable data, on the header part, I can show the payable information. The below, I want to show lines, and then below, I want to show distribution. In the header part, I want to show the location, right? So you can have multiple data sets. That is what it is trying to tell about. And the data sets can also be based on different data sources. So we have different data sources which are available. It can be a SQL based one. It can be a CSV or file based one. It can be web service based one. It can be LDAP based one. A lot number of data sources which are supported in the data model. And what is the tool we use it? The tool we use it for data model, we call it as data model editor. Okay. And here, if you observe, when you're trying to create a data model, so it shows in the left side here, if you observe data model properties, it shows the data sets. And when you're trying to create a new data model, it shows the list of data sources from which you can create a query. And then when you're trying to select, let us say I have selected a SQL query, and then like what we have to mention, we just need to mention a particular data set name, data source, and the type of a SQL. And once you mention the query, it will generate a diagram like this. Okay. Now let us get into deeper understanding of data model properties first. So in the data model properties, we can see the first one is data set. It contains a list of data sources from which we want to get the data. Event triggers is all about when you're there are chances where you want to invoke a particular logic before invoking a report as well as after invoking a report. In those kind of scenarios, we use a event trigger. And flexifield is all about usage of DFF fields in the report. And list of parameters, list of values will come into picture when you're trying to run the report. And if you want to use it to select the list of values based like a list of value selection, in those scenarios you can provide list of values, and these list of values are attached to the parameters. Parameter can be a user defined parameter, or it can be like a drop down based parameter. I mean to say let us say if you want to extract a data based on the legal entity, so you have to provide the list of legal entities which are available in your particular instance, so that in those kind of scenarios, we have to build a list of value, and that list of value has to be assigned to the parameter. And then at runtime for the user, they can select the value in the parameter, and based on that, you'll get the output. The last one is a busting definition. So busting is all about, it provides a logic to select a dynamic template at runtime and dynamic channel at runtime. Nothing but later. So you can generate the report to the FTP or a PDF or email, printer, etc. So that's logic you can define in the busting logic. These are the main components of the data model. Now, coming to the main thing, data sets. So the data sets is a place where we mention from which particular data sources you want to get the data. So these are the list of data sources which are supported in the Oracle Fusion. Next one is the data model properties. So generally by default, it may have all the properties set, but there are very rare chances you may need to set some set of values here. And here the first very important thing is data source. You can set it or you can just ignore it as of now. And other one is this particular one, like include empty tags and all elements, like when you want to extract the data, if at all, if your particular report columns does not have the data, what will happen is it will ignore those empty XML tags. While generating the template, we may have an issue. So better you can just include empty tags and all elements also. The query timeout, this property is very important when you're trying to design a complex report, which may take a lot of time. So in those kind of scenarios, as per the Oracle Metalink support, make sure that you set the value for the query timeout accordingly. So these are the high-level data model properties. Now, when you create a data model, the data model tab, it has 4 tabs: diagram, structure, data, and code. So here, if you can observe, right, diagram, structure, data, and code. So what does this all tell about? So diagram, it displays a list of data sets which you have used it in your particular screen in the data models. And the structure displays the structure of the data. When you create a different set of groups or data sets, it tells you like what is the hierarchy of the data, so that when you design a report, we have to consider this hierarchy and design the template accordingly. And the data, it displays the actual data when whatever the queries which were mentioned in the diagram. So when we execute, it displays the data in a XML fashion or a table fashion. And the code, this is an internal code which is generated by the Oracle data model. So it is internal purpose of the data model. So what are the code generated by the VI engine? It's not editable. Okay. And the diagram here can observe like it shows a list of data sources. It provides demo. The first one, Oracle BIE, application DB FSCM, and DB HCM, DB CRM. And it has the respective purposes. Demo, actually, it will not work because as per the Oracle Fusion BI, this demo is created, but it belongs to a particular connection string which will not work. So we cannot use it. Oracle BI, it includes if you're trying to design a report based on the OTBI analysis, you have to use the OBIA. And then coming to the next things, like if you observe, it divided into 3 ERPs, like 3 modules or application, I can say. FSCM, nothing but financial and supply chain, customer relationship management, and human capital management. Based on the query, so better you can go with the appropriate one. Of course, in some scenarios, you may have a mix, but majority, whatever you have it, you choose the appropriate one. You should not have an issue. And type of SQL, of course, we have a standard SQL, non-procedure SQL, and other option also. But if at all, if you're building your data model based on a very simple query, you have to go with the standard SQL. Now, so far we have discussed about the data model as well as high-level properties. Now what we do is we'll try to understand what are the basic steps required to create a report. What are things we need to understand? The first thing is when you want to create a report, you need to understand what is the requirement and what details you want to build show in the output, right? So assume that you want to get the purchase order or AP invoice data or payable invoice data, right? And then we have to prepare the data model, layout, and register the report. Let us see the first step. So assume that I want to design a payable invoice report. But how do I know the table, right? I may have very few information, or if I want to know the list of tables which are available, the basic source is navigate to docs.oracle.com. In the cloud application, you have to choose appropriate application, select the Fusion application financial suite, and in that, select API and schemas on the left side. In the right side, you select view, click on schema, and then select tables and views for financials. And it shows a list of all the modules of financial part, and select the appropriate table or a view based on the sub module. And then you can find out the appropriate table, and this may have all the column information, and it provides some set of primary key, foreign key, and the relationship between other tables, and choose the appropriate table. Once you are clear with the table, once you're clear with the query, The next step is you have to create a data model. So before creating data model, we have to understand what is our requirement, from what is the query behind it. You have to build the query, and then with the help of the data model, you can create the query also. So with using the data model, what we have to do in our example, I've just considered the table name AB invoice all, and I mentioned only the columns which are required. But how do I know which column stores what information? As I said to you, in the Oracle documentation, it clearly tells you what are the major columns which are available, which column stores what kind of data. From there, you have to select the appropriate column and then build the query. So I just simply mentioned select column name followed by commas and then from AP invoices all. And the data set name, I mentioned like it's a user defined name. Mention the appropriate name. Just mentioned AB underscore INV underscore header underscore Q, nothing but query. Data source, I prefer with FSCM because it's a financial related one. But how do you navigate to the data model if you're working on the Fusion for the first time? How do you navigate? There are a couple of ways. The first option is once you log into the Fusion, you just click on the tools application and there you have to click on reports analytics and then click on browse catalog. Other option is you can just simply copy your Fusion URL slash, you can type XMLP server or you can slash analytics also, you can type it and then you can navigate to the place where you can create the data model. Once you navigate to the like either you can follow the first step or second step. Once you navigate to the appropriate page, then what you can do is you just simply have to click on new data model, and then in the data model you just click on data sets, and then in the diagram you have to click on plus symbol, and then it will select the data source as SQL query, and then mention the query like this. And then once you just click on OK and then save, and then you can click on data tab, and once you click on data tab you can click on view button and then click on export button. It generates a XML data. So these are the high level steps of creation of a data model, as well as how do we generate an XML data from the data model. Now coming to next thing, creation of a layout. Once the data model is ready, the next step is you have to create the layout. This is second step. So layout is all about what columns you want in the output and what is a column name, what is the colors, and what is the structure of output you want to have it. That is what layout is all about. Open MS Word, click on create new file, and save the file with the name appropriate name with extension .rtf, rich text format. And then what you have to do, click on BI Publisher and select the data model. So you have to just click on BI Publisher and click on data XML and select the appropriate XML file, and then it clearly tells you data load successfully. And then what you have to do, click on table in the BI Publisher tab, click on table wizard and select the appropriate group. And then you simply go with the next options and select the columns which you want in the output, and that's it. It will generate the layout like this. Okay. So in the BI Publisher, this is what it shows, the sample XML. Once you click on sample XML, you have to select the XML which you got from the data model. Once you select that, you have to click on table wizard. The table wizard will ask you what is a group name. By default, in our particular sample, we have only one group, so that will get selected by default, and simply click on next. And that's it. It will generate a tabular format data like this. And you can just click on, in the BI Publisher, you can click on the preview format. You can select, these all supported formats it supports, and you can select the appropriate one, and you can see the output. And these are the three steps so far, what we have done. Preparation of your query, data model creation, as well as layout creation. Final step is registration of a report. How do you register a report so that a business user can run the report? So you have to click on new report, and then you have to select data model, and then you have to select use report editor, and then in the layout name, mention the layout name, and the template file, select the RTF file which we created in third step. The type, mention RTF template, local, English, upload, and then click on save. Mention the appropriate name for your report, and that's it. The report is ready for us. Then click on view report, and this is how it looks like in the instance. Okay. Now, so what we do is, whatever the theory we have discussed now, we'll just try to do it step by step again now. Okay. So first thing is, how do we navigate to our Fusion ERP, right? The reports. What we can do, so I'll just close the other one. I can just click on navigation bar. So if you think it is taking time, the very easiest thing is copy your Fusion ERP URL, new tab, and just simply type XMLP server. This is the very easiest thing. Okay. And then click on new data model. So before that, we have to be ready with our query, right? So what you do, go to docs.oracle.com. As per your requirement, you have to navigate to the appropriate documentation. Maybe if your requirement is in the financial area, we have to go with the financial area, click on API schemas, and then select schema, then select tables and views for financial. It shows all the list of tables and views for all the financial modules. Select the appropriate one. Okay. Let's say in our case, I've selected payables, and in this you can search for the invoices all. And here it tells you what is a primary key, what is a foreign key, and all the information will be available here. And then you just prepare the query. So in our case, I just prepared a query like this. This is our query. I will copy this query. And then here, click on data model. And here, click on this particular plus symbol, new data set, SQL query, mention the query name. And here, mention the data set name, data source as application DB FSCM. Click on OK and save it. Now here, click on save. And here you can create a new folder. So let us say if you want to create a new folder, you can mention the new folder name like this. I'll say training. And here I'll mention XXAP INV header DN. So it all depends upon the requirement how we want to name it. So I'll go with save. Click on save now. And click on structure. So here by default, what will happen is whatever the name which you mentioned for the data structure, it will be shown here. And by default, it will have a group name G_1. But we can also rename it later point of time. So you can just click here and click on this particular gear icon. Properties. These group names are very important. When you have multiple groups, it's very difficult to identify them. So what we have to do is you have to mention the group name appropriately so that will not have any confusion. Okay. So I'll say GAP header like this. Save it. Now click on data, click on view. Click on table view so that we can easily visualize it data properly. And now what we can do, we can click on export. So what are the 5 records which it was showing? This particular data will be exported as an XML because to design the template, we require XML data. I'll copy this particular XML file. I'll better create a new folder here. I'll save it. Now I'll copy the folder here, folder location, open MS Word, click on blank document. Before doing further anything, simply click on save, select the location where you want to save it. And here, make sure the file extension is RTF. Now go to BI Publisher menu, click on sample XML, select the XML which we got it just now. Then click on Table Wizard, click on Next. And here it clearly tells you data_ds followed by G_AB header. The group name it is coming from, what are the properties which you have set. And generally what you other thing is always observe the data, how it is available in the XML file so that we can understand how it is getting generated. By default, data_ds is a top level tag which is generated. And when you check the structure also, it shows the same information. Click on structure and it clearly tells you what is the parent tag here. The top level tag is data_ds. This also we can change it. This also we can change it if at all, if you have a requirement to change that. Now for now, we'll not change anything. Simply click on next and you can select all the columns. Click on next and finish. That's it. And these all things you can change it. You can change the column name, you can change the colors and all these things. For now, I'll simply only change only color. Okay, that's it. Save it. The template is ready almost. Click on BI Publisher, click on PDF. That's it. This is how the report looks like. Of course, this format is not at all good, but it is okay. Our concentration is not on the format right now. We just want to just discuss on the high level steps. Now, the next step is report registration. So there are multiple ways you can create the report. Like you can simply click on create report here, or you can click on new report here also. Okay, two ways you can do it. So I'll do a click on create report here, and it navigated to the next new window, I can say. And it is asking it. automatically selected the data model. If at all, if the data model is not selected, or if you have clicked on new and report, obviously it will not select data model. As we have clicked on create report from the data model area, that's the reason it is selecting the data model by default. If you want to change it also, we can change it. And now click on use report editor and click on finish. And save the report XX AP invoice rep. Our report is saved, but still we have to upload the template. Click on upload, click on trainings, select the RTF file, mention the layout name, English, output. Okay, so you can click on view as a list and you can change the output formats if you want to have it. By default, like it provides a default format HTML, and we can select the list of formats we want to have it. And then I can click on save again, and click on view report. That's it. Okay, it is taking a lot of time. The reason is very simple. Here, we simply mention select star from AP invoice all. So we have not mentioned the criteria at all. So nothing but it is extracting all the data which is there in the Fusion instance. So this is not a good practice. Always mention the criteria so that like you'll not have an issue. And generally that is a practice in the any kind of environment, right? You'll never try to extract all the data which is available. So mostly like for transaction purpose, you have to always you'll have a criteria like for a specific BU or for a particular period or for a particular supplier, something like that you'll have it. So make sure that you mention them appropriately so that it will be a good one. So as it is sample, we have not considered any of those extra logic. So for now, we just simply mention a simple query. But the one suggestion I can mention here is like you can simply mention where you can add a one more clause like a where row num less than 100 like that. So that what will happen? It will try to fetch the first 99 records so that the report will be executed fastly. Okay. So these are all about the data model logic in the Oracle Fusion BI. And also we have seen the steps to create a report and we have seen the logic to find out a particular table also. Okay, thank you.